pretty good. Hi guys, Max here from LRT. Today I'm going to be talking about the WULF Raptor 2 tripod from Optics Warehouse. So Optics Warehouse gave us their own branded tripod to have a play around with. WULF is their own brand. They've got other things out there you might have seen. We had the Binos harnesses. They've got some other bits and bobs, part of the WULF line. They've got some optics that we had actually a while ago, the Defender. However, this is their Raptor 2. This is the second generation. The first one we didn't touch. But they brought out another one. They sort of showcased it the other day at British Shooting Show. And now we've got our hands on it to give it a go. I did some shooting with it the other day, and this is a first impressions. Genuinely, it feels fantastic. The quality of this is absolutely second to none. And they have been obviously inspired by lots of different tripods on the market, so it is very similar to what you might expect from a high-end shooting tripod. What I will say is, I say high-end, this I think retails at the minute for $399. That might have been a British Shooting Show deal, I'm not sure, but $399, very, very good for the price. Recently I've been using a Vanguard Outdoors Endeavour in carbon. Now, I am not picky when it comes to tripods. I have certain things that I would like, I want from a tripod, and then I'll just use it. If I find it a bit wobbly, it's probably because I haven't used it enough, or got used to it, or trained on it, so to speak. However, this straight out of the box, plonked it down, set up, and it is just absolutely solid. It's fantastic as a tripod. So simple to use. Just got a little twist at the side, wherever you want to put the rifle, just locks down, and then it's absolutely solid. It's absolutely fantastic for me personally. I can get a nice stable position, however you want to operate the rifle, and it will stay exactly where it is. I set this up pretty much just in front of the balance point. I want my left arm just in front so I can operate the arcer I've put on there and then get my rifle into good position. I can also operate this perfect for my hand. Some people twist over, but we'll talk about maybe things I'm not a fan of. But so let's actually have a look at the tripod. This isn't quite how the tripod comes. I've actually changed the top. It comes with a screw arc plate, or like a little plate you can screw in. However, and a clamp. It comes with a big clamp. I've taken it off because all of my rifles have arcer Swiss on the bottom of them. So I like an arcer clamp, but the screw-in arcer clamp it comes with is a screw-in, and I'm not a fan of that personally. I prefer like a little flip switch. I can put it in, clamp it in, I can undo it halfway, slide the rifle around, put it forward, lock it back in. That's what I prefer, just quick in, quick out. The screw ones, it's absolutely fine, very high quality, but put the rifle in, screw. If time isn't an option, if time isn't an issue, then it doesn't really matter. But for me, I want to flip it in, clip it in, go. The ball head then, very high quality ball head. It is super smooth. Just got to wrench it down because there's no weight on it. It's super smooth. Seen lots of people when they've been showcasing this, they'll put the rifle in and then they'll tighten it to a little bit and then they've been tracking around. I guess that is an option you can do. Clearly it's designed for it. However, for me personally, I find that wears out the friction material that actually clamps on to the ball clamp. So I'm a fan of just unclip it, move it, clip it back in. I say clip it or tighten it back in. For me, if you're going to be moving around whilst under tension, just do it a little minimally because you're going to start to wear out the friction material inside. But it is an option and it is very smooth. Like that moving around is lovely. Again, everything on this feels like a much higher tiered tripod. The actual twist again. So other sort of top end tripods, they're maybe going to the that sort of little lever clamp. Okay, however, plenty of them still use this this sort of the screw down option. I mean, fantastic still. Again, like I said, very quality. And then you've also got extra friction. So for those heavier rifles, I think you can take up to 20 kg, I think, maybe a bit more. I mean, that rifle down there, that AI, I think it's somewhere around, I think it's around like 18, 19 pounds. So yeah, obviously you can easily hold that weight. However, you've got extra friction there, so you can really wrench it all the way up, and then it just means that that is absolutely like solid. you know, as I said, I can literally hold it there. And then obviously if you've got a lot lighter rifle or whatever, then again, you can really loosen it off. Very smooth. You've also got another little screw down here, and that is for your like horizontal, like your left and right. Again, for the most part, I pretty much always have that tightened down. Whenever I set up a tripod, personally, I always set it up so it's aligned to my target. So I have almost like the triangle pointing at the target. So for me, I want my controls the same point every time. I don't want to be like reaching around trying to find those controls, especially if it's dark or if I'm under sort of stress. So I prefer it just to be there every single time, set it up. So for me personally, whenever I put it down, I've got the, there's like a little spirit level here. I have the spirit level on my right with the grip on my right. And then I've got my big adjust on the left, I've got horizontal adjust on the right. And then I've also got my, like arca clip on the left as well. So my off shooting hand can do all the adjustments. My right hand can stay either on the bolt or on the pistol grip. Moving down then, so as you can see, we almost look like a little bit of a spaceship, okay? We have this big chunk of, or this big cylinder underneath. Now, lots of tripods have gone away with this. However, what WULF have got on there is an ability to adjust up and down. So you've got the legs that can extend, but then you've also got this other, I guess, fine adjustment. So if you set it out and you go, oh, I'm actually a little bit low, then you can unscrew this and the top bit comes up. Cool, and then obviously you can lock that in. For me, again, I don't personally like doing that, but it is an option. It is handy, I suppose. I've had plenty of times where I've set up a tripod and I've been ever so slightly too short, and I'm in a position there then where I've gone, oh, for God's sake, I can't really reach around and change all the legs to adjust the height. This is where obviously inverted tripods are quite handy, because you unscrew them, push it down and kind of get yourself into a better height. However, sometimes when the angles aren't working with you, all right, then you can't change the legs without disturbing your position. So this is quite handy, you know, that fine adjustment. What I quite like is the threads. There's a lot of threads. So on here, actually screwing it in, there's quite a lot of thread, so you can put a rifle on there, and if you need to come up a little bit and you're like, oh, for God's sake, I need to like adjust these ever so slightly, you've actually got pretty much like an inch of adjustment that you can like fine adjustment where you can just slowly like creep it up. Maybe you can look through that aperture or whatever you're shooting through. But for the most part, I leave that all the way down. On the bottom of it then, you have this hook. So you can add some sort of counterbalance or counterweight on the bottom to sort of anchor this down, especially with high recoiling rifles, or if you're really elevated and you're trying to spot, for example, then adding like a counterbalance there can sort of take out maybe a little bit of the wobble from like wind if you're in a windy environment, or again, if you're recoiling, it can just help add a little bit of counterbalance to absorb some of that recoil so this doesn't fall over or it doesn't back you as much. It can also take out some of that wobble for your wobble zone if you really wrench this down. So there's two types of ball joints. You have the ball joint like the WULF has, okay, where you've got the ball and then you've got a little piece of material and then the actual clamp is on the top of that, right? So the ball here, like a hinge, and then that moves around, like we've got here. Screws down, either with a clamp or a screw, and then that allows you lots of freedom of movement. You can get into lots of positions with the ball joint like this, okay? If you're doing some sort of angle shooting, you can really make the most of this tripod, okay? If you're shooting up, you're shooting down, if you're trying to build really awkward positions, okay, with the tripod's pushed around here, you're having to shoot around things, off rocks, whatever, then this ball joint is very handy. The other type then is almost like a cup, okay? Sits in like a cradle, and then the whole thing moves around like that. That's what my Vanguard was like. And there's other ones on the market. I think 2 Vets also have a tripod like that, and there's lots of tripods with that sort of cup and cradle. The benefit of cup and cradle is the rifle always wants to sort of self-level. So with this, you can imagine the hinge is here, the gravity, center of gravity is above the hinge, so it wants to pull me over, right? If I go too far, now I'm having to fight gravity to pull it back over. With a cup and cradle, in effect, the center of gravity is lower, so the rifle wants to center, but what you lose is a lot of angle, right? So I can't go down that. Usually you end up hitting the cradle somewhere around there or so. So then you have to manipulate the legs to get to that, get into that angle. The other thing is with this, so if you put a counterweight on the bottom to take up some of that recoil or take up some of that wobble, With a ball joint like this, it doesn't affect anything. I can put a counterbalance on that and it's not going to change anything to do with my rifle. However, with a cradle design, cup and cradle, if I put a piece of material, put a weight or something below, if I then move to the side, obviously the cradle wants to right itself because of the extra weight there. So then sometimes you can find getting into those other positions, angled up or down, if I'm not perfectly level, I'll be fighting the weight as well, which again, I am not mad with this at all. I think it is a good design. I like the ball joint, it's very smooth, it's very adjustable, and it's very quality. So next then, we'll talk about the legs. So the legs on this, again, very sturdy, all carbon fibre, big, grippy twist locks on them, and then on the bottom you've got these, again, it's pretty standard on most tripods now, you've got these rubber feet that you can fully unscrew like I've done there, okay? When you screw them in, okay, you can go past, they keep screwing them, and then you end up with a spike, all right? So that allows you in to get into some maybe spongier terrain, you can still grip in. I pretty much never use that, I always ever use the rubber, but there's definitely lots of scenarios where you would want those spikes. Collapsing this down then, it's not the smallest package by any means, maybe about 70 centimeters or so, but it's a small enough package and it's nice and light. With this setup here, it's 2.8 kilos, so it's not the lightest carbon fiber tripod, but when you pick it up, it doesn't feel that heavy. I thought initially this was lighter than my Vanguard. My Vanguard is 2 kilos on the dot, so it's only 80 grams heavier. Or 800 grams heavier, sorry. So it's not crazy. I don't feel like I've noticed it yet, but by all means, I haven't had this for a long time. Setting this out then, very similar to every sort of Leo Photo tripod, if you've used those, okay? Very similar grip, very similar feel. Grab that, twist it out, extend, lock out. And it is a very quick lock. It is very just unlock, move, lock. Like it is very quick and snappy. There's not lots of travel to keep wrenching it round. Okay, it is just literally like a little bit of a turn and then you're in. The legs itself then, you've just got this pull design, okay, and you can move the legs, well, and you can literally pull the legs all the way out, right? Don't know when you would ever need it like that. However, you've got 3 positions. You've got bottom, like a midway, and then a flat, all right? Or flat, it's pretty much flat. The only thing I will say is it doesn't have a spring design there, so if you come down, all right, it doesn't then lock in. I quite like that, to be fair. I like that it kind of stays put, so you can adjust it. You've got to make sure that you push them in prior to use, all right? Nice bit of wings on them, so you can pull it out, adjust it, slap it into place, and then you're good to go. And that is pretty much it, all right? I like this tripod. I'm gonna use it now. I'm gonna use it and abuse it, and I'll do an update video, and I'll tell you how I found it, what I think of it. So far, I'm really impressed. For those people who maybe thought about getting a tripod, but they were like, oh, you know, to have a good one, you know, you need to spend lots of money, you know, get a Fat Boy, get 2 vets, get a really decent Leo Photo, get really right stuff. I think this is a very good option. I just want to say thank you very much to Optics Warehouse for letting us borrow one of these and do some shooting. Again, as I said, I'm going to use and abuse it. I make no apologies for that. I want to tell them what I think of it, and I want people to know how good or bad it is. I just want to say, if you want one of these, go to Optics Warehouse, send them an email, say LRT sent you, and they might do you a little discount. I don't know, they might do. But we have a good relationship with them, and we're looking forward to seeing what other things come out in the WULF line.